Well, my name's Matt Pratten. I'm the Senior Regional Analyst for Europe here at Intelligence Fusion. And on this episode of The Insight, I'll be providing an overview of organised crime in Spain. Well, looking at sort of organised crime in general, it usually can encompass a wide range of activities. Most of the time, most people would see it as various forms of trafficking, but there's also activities like money laundering and fraud. And where Spain comes into the picture on this is with our ongoing monitoring of Europe. As of probably yesterday, where Spain ranks is about 13% of all organised crime activity across Europe we come across in Spain itself, and that is only matched by the UK. And why this is concerning is that with what we monitor here, and also based on the prior analysis I was able to look up, I could basically describe Spain's significance in organised crime in sort of three ways. Spain serves as a point of entry, a point of origin, and a destination for organised crime networks, both from within the country and across Europe, and in fact across the world. Yeah, well, for point of entry, the main significance there is with regards to smuggling, specifically cocaine, hashish, and people. Well, cocaine, I suppose, is probably obviously with Spain's common language and history and culture with South America, and also Spain's, I suppose, sort of when it comes to Europe, first sort of point of entry for Europe coming from South America. That Spain provides an ideal initial point of entry for cocaine smuggling from South America. These shipments will usually come in by the ton. As for hashish, that's what occurs there is that hashish mainly comes from North Africa, usually Morocco. And the drugs will, like cocaine, the drugs will come by the ton. But unlike cocaine, where the drugs will be concealed within maritime logistics shipments, on container ships, the hashish smuggling, because it's a much shorter distance, the drug networks will have their own transport capabilities. Various boats are often referred to as I hope I get this right, narcolancha. And and most of the time, these craft will be able to go from North Africa, Morocco especially, and get to just about any beach on the Costa del Sol, and offload the shipments very quickly and withdraw afterwards. And then there's the people smuggling. We come across frequent occasions where boats transporting illegal migrants, these are often referred to as pateras, and the boats will largely consist of large groups of, for lack of a better term, fighting age males. Interestingly, what I suppose where there's sort of a mutual benefit in those two areas is that both forms of organised crime provide I suppose mutual support. Illegal migrants boats of illegal migrants will divert attention away from hashish trafficking. Having said that, dedication towards hashish trafficking will take the attention away from illegal migration. Well, as a point of origin, across the various open source reports we look at for monitoring Spain, very often police and the civil guard will come across marijuana plantations just about anywhere, farms and rural areas, or forest areas, or national parks, industrial estates or warehouses, even houses and apartments. And these marijuana plantations, a lot of the time, the average size ranges between 500 to 1,500 plants. And in a lot of cases, these plantations are, very often they're always set up in a very sophisticated manner, even to the point where the networks operating these marijuana plantations will be able to successfully connect to the local power grid illegally. And while there's a lot of cases authorities will be able to seize these plantations, most of the time, because they're so widespread, seizing a plantation of even, I think the largest one I've come across is in excess of 4,000 plants on the one site. But because they're so widespread, seizing one, there's three others that are ready to address the what would usually be a drop in supply. And the marijuana is, of course, cultivated and distributed not just across Spain, but of course across Europe as well, both by land and across over into container ships heading across the Mediterranean, and also up north to the UK and Ireland. Destination, that again comes to human trafficking. However, unlike the sort of people smuggling that we come across as where Spain's a point of entry for North Africa, in terms of destination, where the human trafficking issue there is, Spain is a destination for sex trafficking or prostitution and slavery. Sex trafficking is quite prolific throughout the country. We come across frequent reports of networks being shut down and women being rescued. In a lot of cases, the women being used for prostitutes are brought in from outside of Spain, largely South America and Eastern Europe. Predominantly from South America, and the way the traffickers, be they Spanish or Colombian, even come across Eastern European networks, being able to engage in trafficking women from South America. In a lot of the cases, the way these networks will lure the women into Spain to be used as prostitutes is offering fake jobs. And they'll even pay for the flights, and then once they get the women into Spain on arrival, the traffickers will seize the victim's passport, any forms of communication, phones and valuables, and then essentially start putting them to work in brothels, and as well as use them as prostitutes, or also use them as drug traffickers simultaneously. For Eastern Europe, we come across the same tactic as well with regards to fake jobs, but there's also in a few cases we've come across with where there's involvement with Romanian organised crime networks, especially, is a tactic called the lover boy. And what the trafficker will do is set up establish an intimate relationship with the target or future victim, and eventually they'll convince the victim to travel to Spain. And once that occurs, these women suffer the same fate as the various amount of women coming from South America being offered fake jobs. The other one is slavery, and we've come across this on a number of occasions where there's been labour exploitation on farms, especially illegal migrants such as the ones coming from North Africa, but we also come across a few occasions of illegal migrants from Asia, where farms have been using them as very, very cheap labour. Typical sort of your more classic form of slavery. Very often it's 7 days a week, at least 12 hours a day, for very little pay, and there's often a debt bondage imposed to keep the migrants there. There's also a few occasions we've come across illegal factories, especially whether it be there's been cigarette factories we've come across, but also factories engaging in manufacturing of counterfeit goods. And while the networks will consist of Spanish organised crime networks, there can be networks I've come across where there's been Chinese traffickers, or there can be a blend of the two. Well, overall, I mean, when you're looking at how Spain serves as a point of entry, point of origin, and a destination for organised crime, you could, I suppose, essentially describe Spain as a playground for organised crime networks from across the world. Now, in terms of spillover effects with the operations that these networks engage in, this will have impacts on a number of sectors. Especially let's see, the maritime, aviation, manufacturing, and utilities and tourism, and that's just to name a few. And with also the agricultural sector as well. And when looking at a lot of those sectors over the past 2 years, a number of those sectors I've just mentioned have been particularly hit hard by COVID-19 lockdowns and policies. And now that we're starting to see some even greater problems emerge with, say, inflation, which is going to have huge costs on cost of living and cost of doing business, what that essentially means is that it provides it's likely going to provide some very lucrative opportunities for organised crime networks operating in Spain. So I suppose most likely impact is going to be is over the next couple of years, organised crime is likely going to become much worse, and in the form that, because a lot of businesses over the past couple of years have been hit so hard, tourism especially, will be very keen to keep operating. So it could be we could sort of see a situation where a lot of businesses, because they'll be so desperate to reopen and continue operating, it may be harder for them to actually report activities of organised crime, because that will essentially mean that they're being shut down again. So it's looking like for the next couple of years, Spain is going to be a lucrative opportunity for a lot of networks across the world. We hope you enjoyed this latest episode of The Insight. To stay up to date, subscribe to our YouTube channel.